What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Moon Knight, Season 1, Episode 5, Asylum. And happy Star Wars Day. I know it's not going to be Star Wars Day when this is released, but that's when I'm recording this. So the 6th episode has just dropped. Gonna watch episodes 5 and 6 for Moon Knight. But yeah, I mean, it's fitting. Today's Star Wars Day, owned by Disney. Moon Knight owned by Disney. And we're all eventually going to be owned by Disney since, they're going to become essentially the Empire from Star Wars, because that's what they plan to do, I assume. I assume that's why they bought Star Wars to begin with. They're like, yes, good, we're going to own everything, and then we'll have our own stormtroopers in the form of Disney princesses. Really weird way to start this video, but to be fair, I mean, this episode was kind of out there and very odd, but also incredibly sad. Just, I was not expecting. I should have figured, because obviously Mark is a very troubled individual. I mean, we saw he has multiple personalities inside of him, so of course he had something that caused this. Pardon my dog, he decided to groan at my review. I don't know why. But yeah, I mean, clearly he had some issues going on, but I just didn't expect to actually witness those issues. But to see that it's, losing your brother at a young age, and then your mother blaming you for your brother dying and basically treating you like crap all your life and not seeing her again until she dies, or even when she dies, you don't get to see her. Yeah, I can understand why he's a little messed up in the head. I do wonder if we're going to find out that this other personality is, just because I still assume there's a third one that we're still not for some reason mentioning. I do wonder if it's going to be somehow tied to the brother, like if it's going to share his name or something along those lines. But yeah, I mean, as far as this episode is concerned, it's very, very interesting in a lot of ways. It is still, again, very out there for this show so far, because even though there are Egyptian gods in this show, going to the Egyptian underworld and still having this kind of is it real, is it not element to it, with them showing up at the asylum throughout, talking to Dr. Harrow. I don't know. There's still kind of this weird feeling of like, this still seems weird for this show. And I still, at the end of it, I still don't really know what to think, and I still don't really know what exactly is going on with this other part of the show where they're talking to him and he's trying to convince them this is all in their heads. And even, talking about Steven, like he's talked to Steven before. I don't know if this is supposed to be a memory, or if maybe it's supposed to be one of those where like it's a memory of when he was at an asylum, because I mean, considering he's had obviously the split personality disorder for a long time, it would make sense that at some point maybe he did go to an asylum. So maybe this is kind of a memory juxtaposed with current people in his life, and so that's why, this doctor isn't actually Harrow. It's just he's been put in there now because at the time he saw this doctor as the villain, and so now he's seeing him as, the current villain that he's facing. I don't know. Just really still don't know what to think about that in particular. But as far as how all of the world works, I think it makes sense for the most part. I hope they do explain what caused his scales to finally balance at the end. From what I can gather, it seems like the moment that he saw Steven as more than just a tool to be used, something that helped him escape from his problems, and actually cared about the fact that he was losing Steven and saw him as a person, that's kind of when the scales balanced a bit. They balanced fully, and then all of a sudden now he's in the field of reeds, or I think that's what it's called. So that's my best guess as to why the scales balanced whenever Steven sacrificed himself. Whether it's that, or whether Steven, he needed to do this to, balance his own scales, maybe. Like maybe Mark's scales at that point, because he relived everything he went through and he saw it, and he actually took responsibility for some of it. Maybe that's what balanced his scales, and Steven still needed to balance his, and they didn't realize it. I don't know. Again, I hope we get a little bit more clarification, just because right now it's still kind of up in the air for me as to what exactly it was that balanced the scales. But maybe that's kind of the point. We're not supposed to know for sure. It's just supposed to be one of those moments where it's like, oh, yes, they did it right in the nick of time, right before they were going to die. Because I assume it happened right then, just before Steven was completely like gone for good. Because I'm pretty sure I saw in the description that Steven is coming back for the final episode. So, um, but yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything. I mean, again, all the stuff with the family, incredibly sad and just well acted, well shot. The music as well, just yeah, it got me. I was really engrossed in it and really feeling all of the emotion. Didn't make me shed a tear, but a couple times came very close. I think the one that nearly got me was the mom yelling at Mark as he's walking upstairs, and just like, this is your fault. I mean, God, that just imagining myself in that situation, it's heartbreaking. So, yeah, they did a very good job of making me feel for these characters in this moment, in this episode. But yeah, everything else, it's okay. It's just kind of we're getting some more answers as to who Mark was as a person before this season started, basically. So we're getting more backstory on him, which I mean, it makes sense for the show because this is more of more of an origin story for Moon Knight rather than us getting a story of him fighting bad guys. So it makes sense for us to learn more about Mark and who he was before he became Moon Knight, because that way we can, understand him as a character more and understand him as a hero and why he's doing this to begin with. So I am a little surprised that they didn't get out of this underworld by the end of the episode, that Khonshu is still locked away, and that, again, we still haven't met this third personality that I'm assuming is in there. I feel like, again, I've seen some articles talking about this third personality. I don't know if there's still articles trying to figure out if he has one and trying to figure out what this personality is, if he has one, or if these articles, because I keep seeing third personality. So I don't know. I don't know for sure. I try to skip past them as fast as I can because I don't actually want to read them and get spoiled on anything. But it's Facebook, and because I talk about Moon Knight and the algorithm through my phone hears it, and it's just like, ooh, he wants to hear about Moon Knight. Let's show him spoilery articles. I hate technology sometimes. Again, I've talked about this before in my Spider-Man No Way Home review, but there's sometimes I just want to go in completely blind. Multiverse of Madness comes out on Friday, and there's still a ton of stuff that I feel like I've already seen that's coming into the movie that would have been so cool to see when I get there. And I'm like, holy crap, I didn't even expect this, but now I'm expecting it because some stupid article is like, this is in the trailer, and this one thing probably means this, which means we're getting this. Then you'll be disappointed if we're not. Makes no sense to me, but I'm just an average citizen, so of course it's not going to make sense to me because I'm not making money off of it. So, yeah, I think that's about it for this episode. So, on to the finale. We'll see how it all ends. I'll see you there. And now, episode 6, Gods and Monsters. So, the shortest of the whole series, but not actually the worst ending for the Marvel shows. In fact, it might be my favorite. Maybe. Of all of the endings of all the Marvel shows that we've gotten since, well, I guess the only Marvel shows that we've gotten on Disney Plus, this is probably my favorite just because it feels like there was a lot more closure and we actually did get more answers here than we have gotten in some of the other shows. Like, there are so many others that felt more like, oh, we're setting up all these questions and we'll end the main conflict, except for Loki. Kind of, I guess technically they did take out He Who Remains or whatever. So they did take him out, but it opened up a whole other can of worms. And then, like, for WandaVision, like, they did take out Agatha. For Falcon the Winter Soldier, they did take down the one group as well as stop the other people that were involved. Some of them. So most of the other shows, though, they've resolved their main conflict, but there were so many other questions that I felt like they didn't answer or felt like they were more just set up for future installments of Marvel. So I felt like there was a lot left hanging that I was excited to see either come to a conclusion or maybe get some answers on, and it just didn't happen. For this, for the most part, I feel like I got most of my questions answered. There are still definitely some plot points that are left hanging for future seasons of Moon Knight or maybe stuff that's going to be happening soon in the MCU. Who knows? But yeah, I think overall, though, most of my questions did get answered in this. We do see why the scales balanced. It's because Steven was finally gone, and that gave Mark finally a sense of peace. Although there is the question, though, with Steven gone, how come even though Jake Shockley, is that his last name? How come even though he's still in there, somehow that's not a voice that bothers him? Like, is Steven just the only one that he knows about? They do finally, I guess, get a sense that there's a third personality by the end of this episode, because there's the moment where they black out and everybody's basically dead. I really wish we could have seen what Jake's costume looked like, because I feel like that would have been really cool. But again, probably stuff that they'll be showing us later on down the line. But yeah, as far as Jake, though, he's still very much a mystery, and that's probably something that will be explored if they do end up doing a season 2, or if they end up just doing a movie for Moon Knight, like later on down the line. I'm sure we'll get more answers there. But it does beg the question: at what point is are Mark and Steven gonna realize, wait a minute, we still have the powers? And that's when they'll probably come to the conclusion, oh, there's a third personality that still kept the deal on. It is kind of a weird set of circumstances that he's like, yes, I'll release you to Mark and Steven, but then Jake's like, nah, I'm good. I'm good to keep doing your bidding because this is what I want to do. But that's something that I want to see more of, though. I do wish we could have seen that, but obviously that wasn't the point of this season, introducing us to Jake. But that was something I was excited about, because we saw how basically when Jake took over, it did seem a lot more willing to kill. He seems a lot more menacing and happy to be doing Khonsu's work. And sure enough, at the end of this, we see just how happy he is to be a part of this. You know, the smile on his face as he... I don't know why my dog just... He's like half asleep, but he's like, I'm just going to groan right now in the middle of a stretch, in the middle of his review, just to interrupt him. But we did see the menacing look on his face as he shot Harrow, just showing how much he loves working for Khonsu. And that's a relationship I'm really excited to explore in future installments. But again, I get that wasn't the point of this season. I think I was just getting my expectations built to see him more in action and see what he's all about. And honestly, I kind of want to know how he was formed as well. And again, that'll probably be something for season 2 if that happens, or if they decide to do a movie, who knows. Because we saw how Steven got formed. So why did he end up with a third personality? Was there something about him that he... I don't know, he didn't have the guts to finish a job, and so Jake came out to do it, and he didn't realize he created this other personality. It does make me wonder, too, because there was the one guy he talked about being in cahoots with, like this friend that ended up killing everybody. I don't remember the name that was given, because if that was Jake Shockley, then we will find out that it was actually this other personality is the one that went and killed everybody, including Layla's father, which is something that I kind of figured might have happened. Definitely worth a rewatch, though, just with this new information in mind of what the name of this personality is. I'll have to see if his name does come up at any other point and if they're connected or anything. But yeah, all in all, though, this episode was fine. I enjoyed seeing Layla getting to get her own costume. There was one kind of cringy moment, very similar to all of the ladies just happening to show up in the same place in Endgame. Very much the same thing here, where she like saves this one girl and goes to save this fan. It did feel a little odd, and it felt very much set up to like, let's have Layla doing this thing, so that way, you know, because she and Mark and Steven were all working together, and we're doing a pretty good job of stopping Harrow. So it was like, let's have her do this other thing, so that way Mark can get beat down, which would then release the other personality, which I kind of figured is where they were going. I just assumed we would actually get to see it. I didn't know they were going to keep it hidden from us again. But there was the scene where she saves everybody in the van, and this girl's just sitting there. Are you an Egyptian superhero? She's like, yeah. And the girl's like all hopeful. I'm like, my God. Oh. Because the thing is, don't get me wrong. I get, you know, they're having diversity and having equality and representation. It can be a good thing, and it can mean things to people to see somebody and be like, oh, hey, they're from the same lineage as me. They look like me. That's cool. That there's a superhero out there that looks like me. Like, I get that. However, it's almost like they're kind of praising themselves whenever they put scenes like this in, like, oh yeah, this is what it means for Egyptian people that we put an Egyptian superhero in our show. Look at what it means to people. It's like, but this is a character you've written into your show. So maybe stop patting yourself on the back and go back to just telling your story, please. God, it felt so self-gratifying to me. Maybe I'm the only one that saw that, but I facepalmed. I'm like, my lord, just why don't you go ahead and just shake your the meme of Obama putting the medal on Obama. I love that meme. That's essentially what it looked like to me. But no, I like seeing Layla in this costume though. I thought it was really fun and inventive, and she looked badass as well. It did take me a second though, because when she started talking as whatever the hippo goddess's name was, when she started talking to her, I'm like, wait a minute, but we've never seen Mark do that. And I was like, oh no, wait, in the temple they do. That's how they speak. They speak through the avatar. So it did take me a second to remember that, but it was kind of a funny scene though to see her like she's trying to get out of this crumbling like structure, and she gets interrupted by the hippo goddess that's like talking through her. She's like, I kind of need to get out of here. I'm about to die. But I mean, yeah, all in all, it was a fine episode. The fights were pretty fun and inventive. I like seeing the switch between the way Mark fights, between the way that Steven fights, and how they utilize their different weapons. I can't wait to see more of Moon Knight because of that. I feel like they've definitely got a good setup for bringing him in the future and future MCU products, because, I mean, he has such a unique style of fighting to be able to switch between two different personalities with two different fighting styles and two different forms of weapon as well. I'm excited to see more of that. So I hope we do see him very soon. I don't know what the next one would possibly be that we would see him in, but I'm very, very excited to see more of him, and I hope they do a season 2, and we do get to explore a bit more about who Jake is. The only other thing I had a question about was the final scene inside of, I guess, his mind asylum. I still don't really get what that was all about. I assume that was something to do with the afterlife or the underworld that they were in. Like, it was kind of flicking back and forth between these two places. I don't know. I didn't really have a sense of what exactly was going on, and we see where that scene finally ends in this episode whenever Mark and Steven both accept that this is a part of their imagination, and the real world is everything going on outside, because they even see, Harrow is now bleeding. So I still don't really get what exactly was going on there, and I guess it's left up to interpretation whether this is his mind, whether this is kind of a different reality that they're living in at the same time. I don't know. I don't really know what to think about it, and I don't know if we're supposed to be kind of questioning what it is, or if they're going to even tell us what it is later on down the line. But I don't know. It's just something that I was hoping that I would at least get some clarification on, and it felt more like they just left it up to being vague. So, but yeah, all in all, as far as the first season is concerned, I think it probably tops my Marvel TV shows list. And again, it just comes down to the ending. Like most of the other shows I enjoyed for the most part, they just didn't end well because it felt more like they're setting up something else rather than trying to finish their own story and answer a lot of their questions. And don't get me wrong, I've seen other shows do this. I've seen other shows that are like, all right, we're wrapping up this story, but here's some other questions that weren't quite answered that's going to be coming back next time, next season. I've seen that happen before, but for the Marvel shows especially, because it feels like there's so much kind of lull and time wasting because they've got 6 episodes to work through, when honestly some of these shows could probably be taken down to a movie size. Like Loki, I really feel like could have been. Moon Knight probably could have been taken down to a movie size, but I'm glad that they didn't, because they also were able to explore some things that if they had chopped it down a bit, they might not have been able to. But I definitely would totally agree with anybody that said this could have been a movie. I do think they probably could have gotten it done. but I mean, it was still good. It was still enjoyable. And again, I feel like out of all of the TV shows, this one for me had the most solid ending because they answered most of the questions. They did leave still some mysteries here and there, but they gave me a lot more satisfaction and a lot more, okay, resolution. So that's where I stand on it. And yeah, I think that's about it. Got Multiverse of Madness coming up this weekend. So look forward to that review. I don't know when I'll do that one. Maybe starting next week, I'll start off with it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it again. Wish I was going in completely blind, but it is what it is. The internet sucks, and we just gotta live with it for now. Hopefully someday people will start going, you know what? Maybe it would be better if people weren't going around, if paparazzi weren't going around and trying to spoil all of this stuff for us. Maybe it would be better if we just went in more blind, so that way we could actually be surprised by some of the stuff that we see, and that would be more fun for us. But for what it is right now, people for some reason love to try to answer questions and figure stuff out and get as many answers as they possibly can before going in, so that way whenever they do go in and either everything they predicted happens or it doesn't happen, and that's where we are right now. There's no like, I just want to go in, just pretty much no predictions, no expectations, and just see what they've got for us. That's kind of how I feel. But yeah, that's it for me. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on Moon Knight? Let me know what you can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Marvel reviews and hopefully Moon Knight Season 2 reviews. And I'll see you guys when I see you. Peace out.